So normally when I do these tier lists, I just do them on the CDL teams, right? But thanks to your guys' great ideas, which I love, we are going to be one-upping that today. We're going to be doing a tier list on every single CDL Pro in Vanguard right now. And just a quick update. We did just pass 35,000 subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough for the amount of love that you've been showing me lately. But more importantly, we're only 87,000 subs behind Octane, and we have the rest of 2022 to surpass him, which I believe we will, especially with the help from all of you out there. But for now, let's get into the tier list. And yeah, I have some pretty hot takes, I'd say. All right, so as you guys can see here, we have our tier list. We have 6 different tiers, ranking from the top S tier. These are the best players in the game, all the way down to players that I'm probably better than right now in the F tier. Now, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how I am valuing these tiers. Okay, because I can't go too into detail. There's way too many players. For context, and CJ, you can put this up on the screen. There are 6 tiers, right? We know that. Now, I'm going to be breaking these players up into categories, into their roles. So there is one main AR player on every team. I am going to have the top 2 AR players in the S tier that I think. So for example, I have Dashy and Arcides. These are my S tier main AR players. Okay. And then there's going to be one flex on every team, even though there isn't a flex gun, right? It's that guy who's going to run an AR or SMG, depending on the map. There also will be 2. So I know that I'm putting these players up here as an example, but they are also on my list. So MC, Celium, I have him as the best flex player in the game, followed by Illy. So on each tier, because I want to make this as even as possible, right? I don't want to just have majority of the league in the B tier, okay? I want to go by their role. They're going to be in the S tier. So any other flex player below them is going to be in the A tier, so on, so on, so on. And then since there's 2 SMG players on each team, it's going to be the top 4. So the best 4 SMG players are going to be in the S tier alongside these guys already. And to me, that's going to be Shotzzy, Simp, Scump, and a BZ. Okay, so these are my only S tier players in the game, because realistically, guys, I can't have, even though there are a ton of great players, I can't compare someone like Zero to someone like Shotzzy. It just doesn't work that way. You really have to compare them to their roles and how they performed in the first stage, not just the major, the complete stage, to their counterparts, right? So I'm comparing Zero to Dashy and Arcides. I'm not comparing him to Shotzzy. Okay, so now we got that out of the way. This is my tier list, and this is the S tier. These, I think, are the best 2 main ARs, the best 2 flexes, and the best 4 SMG players in the game right now. For the A tier, the 2 AR players that make it for me are Zero. Zero's been great, man. I think a lot of people forgot about him because he couldn't play in Cold War. Zero's been absolutely lights out so far in Vanguard. And this might be a hot take, but it's Skies. He's low-key underrated. I know Florida hasn't had the success that some of these other teams have had, but when you look across the board, every single game mode, he basically is near the top of all of them. And I think Skies has been a very talented main AR for a while now. I think Florida's lack of success is making him so underrated, but I do think he's the 4th best main AR in the league. And then for the 2 flexes, these guys are both nasty players. I have Gizmo from London Royal Ravens. He's fantastic. But once again, I just can't put him in the same tier as Celium and Illy for the time being. And then I have LAG's Gunless. Gunless is also another one of those players who I feel like has been underrated because of LAG's lack of success. But Gunless is an absolute damage dealer, like high impact player. Gunless knows what to do in Call of Duty. Okay. Any shortcomings that people talk about from Gunless don't have to do with his gameplay. It's usually his personality or his attitude outside of the game. But he is a fantastic Call of Duty player. And then for the subs, man, I have Envoy. Envoy, honestly, is low-key one of the best players in the game right now. In every single game mode, hardpoint, control, S&D, he's near the top of the leaderboard. And I think he's been quietly one of the best players so far this year. But joining alongside him, we're going to have Toronto Ultra's Kleenex. Okay. Gotta love Kleenex. The tissue. Afro. Even though I will give Afro the edge, so I'll put him, ahead of him. It doesn't really matter that much. They're all in the same tier at the end of the day. And then last but not least, I have, who do I have? I have Seattle Surge's Pred. I think these group of fine young gentlemen are in the A tier. Like I said, I'm breaking it down from roll. So it's 2 ARs, 2 flexes, 4 SMGs, obviously, because that's quick math. Moving on to the B tier though, I have Insight. And this one, I don't know if I'm going to get flack for, but I have Methods. Oh, oops, sorry. I think Methods is very solid, man. I think he gets a lot of hate. I do. You know, he's, for the most part, been great besides his control this year. I will say everyone on Boston Breach, their control has been pretty piss poor. Okay, just because they suck. They're like the worst team at control in the league. But I think these are the next 2 best main AR players. Obviously coming in the B tier. And then for the flexes, I have LAT's Kenny. And I also have Toronto Ultra's Cammy. Those guys will be rounding out my B tier for flexes. And then the 4 subs, this is where it gets a little interesting. Because I have, where is he? I have Hydra. I have Draza, Big Wake. And who's my 4th? And I have my ginger brethren, Nasty, out of London. Now, once again, I know what you might be thinking. I'm going to reinforce this one last time in this video before I get cooked, okay? Because I put a lot of thought into this. This isn't just, these are the A tier players, because it's impossible to compare Hydra to someone like Skies or to someone like Zero or Gunless or Gizmo. So I think Hydra is great, but when it comes to subs, I think he is in the B tier for the time being. He obviously does a lot, man. And when you look at the stats, he does it all. I do think him and someone like Big Wake and even Draws, I think their inconsistencies are in the gameplay itself. You know, they're just kind of making wrong plays. They're pushing out wrong cuts. They're playing more aggressive when they need to be holding, or, you know, they're manipulating spawns in the wrong way. All right, there's a lot of thought, but I'm not going to go too further into that unless you guys want me to, but let me know and I'll do another video on this and I'll go more in detail. But for this, we're having fun, and that rounds out the B tier. For the C tier main ARs, I have Lamar Beatty, aka Accuracy, aka the Iceman. And this one might be a shocker because he's new in the scene. I have Tom Gravity. Just to give you guys a little background on Tom Gravity, he's a very safe player, okay? He has a high floor, but a lot lower of a ceiling, I would say, compared to a lot of the other ARs on this list, right? He's like a 1-story house. He's not going to win you a game. He's not going to lose you a game. But I think Tom Gravity has been solid from what we've seen so far. Obviously, it's a very small sample size, but what can I do? I can't predict how he's going to do in the future. He could turn into a superstar. He could be an absolute bust. Right now, I have him in the C tier along with Accuracy. And now we got to pick 2 more flexes. Now, for the flexes in the C tier, I have Sib. And I have, this is tough. Do I go TJ Haley or do I go Temp? Ah, man. I think I got to go Temp. I think, I know that Donnie hasn't had the success that, say, TJ Haley has had in Boston Breach. But Donnie's in a lot tougher of a situation. You know, I think they're trying to make team changes right now. He's been performing exceptionally well. And I'm also TJ Haley's boogeyman, so, you know, I can't gas him up that much. Even though I like Tej, I have to give this spot to Temp. And our next 4 SMG players that will be joining these guys in the C tier, I have Minnesota's Standy. I have LAG's Seam Asim. And then I actually have 2 Boston boys. I have the notorious CAP in Capsule, and I have Nero. Now, once again, okay, if you're gonna try, I just said I'm not gonna say anymore, but if you're gonna try and tell me that Standy is better than Methods or Asim is better than Methods, I wouldn't necessarily argue that, but we can't, like, if we're being realistic here, guys, we can't compare the 2. Okay, I'm comparing these 4 SMG players with the players that are above them in the tiers, and to me, it's hard to put them over any of these other guys. I could be a little bit wrong here, but that's how I'm doing it. And I feel like it not only makes the most sense, it also helps my OCD. If you guys have OCD, because I'm not trying to have a million players in one tier list. And then for the D tier, we have LAT's Octane. Wow. Never thought I would have Sam this low. Truly never thought it. But at the same time, he just hasn't been performing like the Octane we all know and love, okay? I hope he can turn it around. Last event, he didn't have a single game mode above a 1.0. He struggled heavily, and he just kind of feels lost. And then joining him, I also have Minnesota's Major Maniac. You know, one of the best S&D players in the league. I think one of the smartest S&D minds in the league. But when it comes to the respawns, man, I feel like he doesn't involve himself as much as he could. You know, I know he's a very selfless player, but he just doesn't seem to have any sort of impact in any of the respawns, in my opinion. And then for the flex players, I have TJ Haley and I have Crib6 in the D tier. I know this might be a little tough, man. Like, I feel like, you know, they could be higher. I do. Like, I don't think that they could be in the A tier. In the B tier, I don't know. I actually kind of like how my list is shaking up right now, how this tier list is shaking up. So let's move on to the 4 SMG players in this tier list. I have Vivid. I have Huke. I have Benjamin Bance. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I love you, Benny. And last but not least, I have Attach. So here's the thing, by the way. I know Attach and Priesta swapped roles. Okay, Dylan was technically an SMG player in all of stage 1. And while his stats KD wise weren't bad by any means, like I said, I'm comparing him to the 4 guys above him in the other tiers. And not only from stats, just from overall gameplay. I don't think Dylan is necessarily a D tier Call of Duty player. But when it comes to the SMGs in the league, I think it's hard to put him above any of these guys. I mean, maybe he could be in the C tier, like above Nero. But I don't know, dude. It's a star-studded league, okay? Even though he's in the D tier, or for any of these guys in the D tier, doesn't mean they're absolute garbage by any means. It's just, you got to understand that there's a lot of really good-ass players in this game. You know, there is. So someone's got to be in the D tier. And then last but not least, the absolute trash cans of the league in the F tier. No, I'm just kidding. But I do have these guys at the bottom of their roles. For ARs, I almost said Clayster. I have Slasher. And then joining him, I do have Clayster, which is crazy. These are 2 of the best ARs in Call of Duty history, but they just have not been performing well at all. I do think Slasher will improve. Like if I do a tier list after the next major, I think he'll improve. I actually think there's going to be a lot of swapping. But from right now, he's just not near the top of the main ARs. And then for the flexes, I have Dave Patty and I have Priest. This is another surprising one. Like I said, I know Priest is swapping to an SMG, blah, blah, blah. Priest specifically hasn't looked really good. I don't know if that is because it's a team thing, you know, a pacing thing. He's a very selfless player, man, and he's going to always try to make the right play, even if it is the riskier play. So I don't know if Minnesota's just overall slow pace is hurting him, or if it's you know, mostly on him. Dave Patty, you know, his stats aren't bad, but he's got some of the slowest pace in the league. I feel like the only mode right now that he is impactful on for Florida is Control, where it's basically like a glorified TDM, right? But I don't know. His play style doesn't suit me. Nothing against the guy, you know, but I just don't know if I would put him above any of these other guys in this flex rectangle right here. And then last but not least, we have the 4 sub players, and that's very obviously going to be Jimbo. Okay, John. Oh, I still have Mac up here. Fucking hell. How do I have Mac up here? Okay. Well, anyways, Royalty and yeah, it's gonna have to be Neptune. I mean, they just haven't looked good, these 4 SMG players. I think John has looked the best out of all of them, but he hasn't really done much. He hasn't really gave me anything to think he's better than any of these guys above. It gets a little weird now because obviously Paul X is on this list, and even though he filled in 2 matches for London, he's not officially in the CDL, even though I do believe it's all said but done that he will be joining NYSL. I don't know if it's for Clayster. I don't know if it's for Neptune. I don't know if it's for Royalty. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. And then we also have Mac. I don't know how I forgot Mac. So this is where my OCD is going to suck, because I'm just got to slot Mac in somewhere. Yeah, I'm just gonna slot Mac in, bro. He's the tail of C. I mean, could I put him? No. I actually really like this list. But that's my tier list. This was kind of hard to do, I'll be honest. There's so many good players in the league. And I know I did this a little bit differently, but I hope you guys enjoyed. And more importantly, comment what video you want me to make next. The most liked video will be the next video that I record. I'm gonna see y'all when I see y'all. Peace.